So we begin our panel. Keep in mind we'll still go about an hour and hold questions to the end. And each speaker then will introduce the following speaker so the panel will move smoothly. Lily Owyang.
Good afternoon, sisters. Good afternoon. Trained like a Emmanuel student. Sister Francis says, I've been here since 1965 full-time, but if I really wanted to count my years, I've been here since 1963 part-time. So that, as Sister Janet has said, the sisters have helped to shape Emmanuel today. In many ways, the sisters have shaped me, but I am. To the point that before I was married, I was teaching here, and when I got married, my name, Owyang, although it's Chinese, my husband likes to think it's Irish. So our sons' names are therefore Irish, Kevin and Colin. Sister Marie Barry's not here, but she used to like to call them her little Irishmen. They're more than a little today. The other thing I've also suddenly acquired as fleeting fame, if you will, is, don't you think I look like Cory Aquino? Okay. Just in case some of you wonder. Like once in a while I go around the campus waving. In yellow, right? I purposely didn't wear a yellow dress, just not to confuse you. The job I've been holding this past year has been really the job that Sister Raymond Loretta had begun and has spent so many years developing and cultivating to the degree that it's working so well today. And that's the Associate Dean for Academic Support. I thought I'd give you an overview of exactly what the academic support means. The student that we have today needs a great deal of linkages, academic linkages as well as career linkages. Being faculty at Emmanuel and being the administrators to help the students latch on to the system at Emmanuel and to really get the most out of Emmanuel education, oftentimes we have to provide her with many linkages, these academic linkages. Freshmen come in and are assigned 3 academic advisors. 3 of us, in other words, share the advising of the freshman class. There is 1 academic advisor for the sophomore class, that's Sister Lorraine, who will give you a little bit more specifics exactly of what she does, and another one for the junior class as well as for the senior class. Let me tell you a little bit as part of what that academic advising and the linkages is. Primary to that is the Academic Resource Center, and the director is here today, Alice Stalker, who you can talk to later on. One of the very important things of the Academic Resource Center is that we make sure every freshman who comes in, and this is I think during the past 3-4 years now, take what we call the Reading and Study Skills Workshop. In other words, what we do there is to make sure students entering a college curriculum have the necessary skills to do the reading in the content area as well as the study skills needed for her to survive and succeed at Emmanuel. Part of also the Academic Resource Center is the whole system of tutoring that we try to develop and we try to meet individual needs. Sister Ann Daly, who's also here, is in charge of the Writing Center, and many of the freshmen have to take what we call the Composition and Logic class as well as a math class. So that has been increased, and the overall requirements for students today at Emmanuel are 36 courses. So that means 2 of that has to be fulfilled in a math course and the other one in a compositions logic course. Now, the type of freshmen we have currently attending Emmanuel, in many ways they're very similar to the freshmen that have come through the doors in all these years. In many ways they're very different. Different in the sense that these students need environment of Emmanuel, and I believe it very firmly because as I see the freshmen becoming seniors, there is something that we do here, the Emmanuel magic, that is intangible but very real when they present themselves in the professional world. And when I see the seniors, I also advise the senior class. Oftentimes I stop them and I say, do you remember when you first came here, you could barely talk. Never mind, try out here for an interview. So a lot of what we do as being what Emmanuel College is part of that intangible that need and that linking to what we can do, what the students can do as part of their environment, that they can carry the Emmanuel message out to the world of work, as well as to any other professions that they may be doing. The freshmen today, in many ways, have not as strong academic links as they used to in the past. The academic skills that they do have are there, but they need to be cultivated. They also need to be strengthened. And we also are very proud to say that our minority student recruitment and our minority student body has increased as well. Added to that is the international student body, so that we already have students not only of Hispanic culture, but we also have students from Haiti, students from Japan, students from Hong Kong, and students from Nigeria, if we were to talk about continuing ed as well. Part of what we tried to do this freshman year with the class of 1990, it's so easy for me to say 1990 now because I've said it for so many months. But when the first time I knew they were coming, 1990 seemed like way, way in the future. Part of what we did this past year was a series what we called Connections 90 event. And they were a series of 6 lectures, and we brought the students in to St. Joe's foyer, and we provided them with candy and popcorn and all the niceties that make them want to come. And they came and they listened to faculty talk about the curriculum here at Emmanuel, and talk about, more importantly, how the curriculum at Emmanuel also applies to their personal lives. So when we talk about academic linkages, that's very important. The students have to see some sense that when we as faculty or administrators speak of academic skills and academic disciplines, that we indeed believe in that in our professional and personal lives. So that linkage, that personal identity with faculty was very important for this freshman class. The other thing what we want to do is to celebrate them. So on April, we will celebrate them with a typically Celebrate 90 event, and that's to commemorate their first successful year, I hope, here at Emmanuel. Another very important project that the Associate Dean's Office for Academic Support has begun was beginning last July, Sister Janet, saw a very real need to establish internships. While we do have internships in different majors within the college, the more comprehensive planning needed to be done. And in the person of Lois Sullivan, our internship office has developed into what we call the Office of Experiential Education. Students come here knowing that they have to have a link to the real world. They have to in some way translate the theoretical skills that they are getting in the classroom into the very practical skills of making a living. So the Office of Experiential Education then has 3 different models of experiential education. Very first one is what we call the mentorship program, which is an exploratory program. Students can go and find out, do they want to go into the world of the print media? Do they want to go into broadcast media? Do they want to go into nonprofit organizations, banking, etc.? Then students then apply for an internship program, which is primarily supervised by their major department. The very last model we have, and we're very excited about, is what we call the partnership model. The partnership model is Emmanuel's own version of the cooperative model, or the co-op model that everyone seems to be talking about. The partnership model allows the student to spend more time in an organization or institution to develop definite skills where by the time she graduates, she becomes a viable and valuable potential employee for that particular company. And I think if you look back in the years that I've been here, the whole need to link practical skills and to help our students link into the world of work has become increasingly important. It is the competitive edge now when students look for colleges. And for Emmanuel not to do so is really, in a way, to deny students who need our task and our mission very strongly. So therefore, if we include that, then we are then saying that Emmanuel then is very much aware of what the future needs of students are. So we are continuing in trying to link to the future, helping our students present and continue with the Emmanuel message into the world. One other thing, and I would use this as an introduction of Teresa Kirk coming along, is the continuing education. When I started here at Emmanuel, there was no such thing as continuing education. Continuing education came and began and flourished with Sister Mary Ellen O'Keefe, who I see sitting there too. So that continuing education is a very important part of our Emmanuel tradition now. Just a little sampling of statistics, as if you will. When I started here, a lot of the students were dorm students. Today, 50% of the students are commuters. When I started here, there were very few continuing education people. Even the glimmer was in anybody's eyes. Today, we are at least 50, the continuing education population is at least 50% of the student population. So you see the Emmanuel that you know and that I knew when I first came here, in many ways is still here, except we are extending the message to more people and to allow the Emmanuel mission to be carried on further. So to continue and talk about continuing education, Teresa, thank you very much.
I just wanted to share with you briefly before I do my overview and a few minutes about continuing education in Emmanuel that I feel very comfortable not only being here as an administrator, but being here among the Sisters of Notre Dame. Before I came to Emmanuel 3 years ago, I was the principal of a school and I replaced a Sister of Notre Dame. And for the next 3 years, every student in that school called me sister. So I feel very comfortable. In the next few minutes, I would like to share with you a profile of our current continuing education students, and then briefly outline some of our market research and the implications for our programs. And lastly, I'll speak about the enrollment trends and our accomplishments in that area. And Dr. Owyang already mentioned that Sister Mary Ellen O'Keefe is here today, and I had the pleasure of working with her for 6 weeks when she was the Dean of Continuing Education, and I am very grateful for all of her good work that preceded our efforts. There are currently nearly 400 adult learners on this campus enrolled in continuing education, and this year we welcomed 210 new students to continuing ed. We were particularly pleased with that number, since we have not enrolled that many new students since the spring of 1982. 90% of our students are employed full-time while attending our classes in the evening, and 75% of them have school-age children, and nearly half of them are single parents, and their average age is 34. Several years ago, a study was conducted for Emmanuel by Bart and Gillette to see where our primary market was for our students. And the results indicated that most of our students in continuing education live within a 35-mile radius of the college. And what we have found within the past 2 years is that that 35-mile radius theory is no longer the case. Our students commute from Rhode Island, from southern New Hampshire, and some of them from Maine. They are enrolling in more courses per semester and are interested in career change and very interested in job success. To assist them with their goals, and we think in continuing education that we know very well what their goals are, we have designed and introduced study skills workshops just to meet the needs of adult learners, many of whom have not written term papers or prepared to take exams in over 10 years. And Dr. Alice Starker, who is here, who's the coordinator of the Academic Resource Center, has assisted my staff with that this year and has been very successful. We have a staff of experienced academic advisors who assist and guide our students as they make the transition from full-time professional to part-time student, a transition which is a very difficult one. And I'm pleased that Sister Ann Lynch, who is here today and was very instrumental in this gathering today, is one of the academic advisors in continuing education and a person who I look to a great deal for her assistance. Over the past 2 years, the college has modified its schedule so that most of the administrative offices are now open until 7 p.m. in the evening from Monday through Thursday, which is something that didn't occur in the past, to accommodate the needs of the adult learners who go onto this campus in the late afternoon and early evening. My office this year has worked very closely with the Financial Aid Office to help seek additional sources for adults who are now requesting financial aid. Many of our students have college-age students themselves. We have a student who will be speaking with you later on today on one of the panels who has a daughter at Harvard and who's also working in the Boston Public Schools while completing her teacher certification program here at Emmanuel. I'd like to share with you a few minutes about some of our market research, because that's something that we feel has been very important for the success of our programs. Just as our students have changed over the past few years, and you'll hear that today, so have the demographics. And the manner in which we compete for our students has to change dramatically as well. Solid market research and careful analysis and tracking of our current as well as our prospective students is the focus of the Continuing Education Office right now in 1987. This college has done its homework. We are well aware of the demographic changes. Emmanuel, as well as the colleges across the country, are faced with a decline in the number of applicants for the traditional 18-year-olds. And while there are less 18-year-olds applying to college, there are more and more non-traditional students who have raised their family and who are now returning to complete the baccalaureate degree in a variety of ways. We're well prepared to meet those needs. I'm very proud to say that this college has taken great care to conduct thoughtful research and planning as we prepare for the challenge of moving into the 1990s. A major program review, as Dr. Helen Tremble referred to, a move towards centralizing enrollment management, marketing and recruitment so that it's closely linked to programs and retention of students are just several of the major undertakings that this college is now engaged in. From an enrollment management standpoint, we are in one of the most exciting yet challenging periods of higher education. And the college is located in one of the most competitive geographic areas of the country. Within 25 miles of this college, there are hundreds of colleges trying to provide the best possible programs and services for their traditional as well as non-traditional students. We are all competing for the same students. To clarify the mission of continuing education and accurately assess our internal strengths and limitations in the adult marketplace, my office has embarked on substantial research activities that included collecting information and perceptions of our programs from the following sources. The continuing education alumni, and there are many. We've sent questionnaires to them, and many of them have been personally interviewed. A telephone survey of over 50 adults selected at random by the Census Bureau. The Office of Adult Learners at the College Board has provided us with substantial information, as well as reviewed our brochures, which are new to continuing education. We have several of them here today for your review. And the College Board also completed a market segmentation study for us very recently. Various business and healthcare executives were also interviewed, and we developed a healthcare advisory board this year to assist us in the planning of those areas. And a little bit about the results. Our marketing efforts have yielded excellent results. Enrollment has increased in all of the major areas and major programs of continuing education. We've expanded our visibility in the media, many of you may know that, by developing a regulated schedule of advertising in all of the major newspapers as well as local newspapers during the peak enrollment times. This advertising is closely linked with our tracking system and has brought over 4,000 inquiries to this college continuing education within the past 2 years. On any given Monday morning, following the appearance of one of our ads, for instance, in the Boston Sunday Globe, you would see my staff engaged in responding to sometimes 200 to 300 written responses or telephone calls as a response to our ad, and we try to get back to each and every one of them within 48 hours. These prospective students are then carefully tracked from the point of inquiry right up to registration, which is the ultimate goal. Another of our major initiatives, which was a direct result of some of our market research, was the opening of a satellite program this year for a Bachelor of Science in Nursing on the South Shore. And it was done in collaboration with the Braintree Hospital in September of '86. After substantial meetings and research on the South Shore, we found there were many RNs who wished to complete their degree in that area. And currently we have 19 of them enrolled at the Braintree Hospital, and as well as the Braintree High School. We're offering courses in both of those places. We're very pleased about that, and we have a wait list for the fall of '87. You may also be aware of our satellite program, which was originally developed at the Beverly Hospital for the Healthcare Administration degree program, Sister Francis's program. Now at St. Mary's High School in Lynn, we're very pleased about that, thanks to the efforts of Sister Marie Gari and several others. And we're very pleased that that program is located there. We have over 23 students currently completing their degree there. And lastly, our new master's degree in human resource management degree has an enrollment of over 40 part-time learners, and all of those people are enrolled in the evening and working full-time. I would like to conclude by saying that the program initiatives for my department, which I've shared with you today, were made possible because of the support that I've received from Sister Janet. Her vision and leadership allows each of us to work here very creatively and look forward to positioning Emmanuel and moving the college forward into the 1990s. Thank you very much, and I'd like to introduce at this time Sister Claudia Blanchard.
The educational and pastoral ministry programs are going into their 19th year this coming year. And the urban pastoral programs, an adjunct program to EPM, is going into its 3rd year. I'm going to speak to you about both programs. Perhaps some of you remember the beginning of educational and pastoral ministry, now known as EPM, when it was TCRE, Training Center in Religious Education. The program grew out of the vision of Sister Ann Bartholomew, who wanted Emmanuel College to be a center for religious education here in Boston and in New England. Really, there wasn't such an entity at that time. And so we began very tentatively, and we trained a mixture of people, priests, sisters, and lay people to become religious education directors, teachers, especially on the adolescent level, and directors. And then gradually over the years, things evolved because the people changed, their perception of religious education changed, and they began to see how it was more linked with pastoral ministry. And so TCRE became EPM, Educational and Pastoral Ministry. The link was made between the two. And in 1976, a segment in pastoral counseling was added because many people wanted to do pastoral counseling as their ministry and thought the program could reach out to that with its resources, which it did. Now the program has many facets to it, and I will explain those as we move along through this presentation. But I think it's important to know that this history began out of the vision that Emmanuel could offer leadership in this area in New England. The philosophy of the educational and pastoral ministry programs, as I explained it to potential students, has several facets. I explained to the people who come to me that we are very much involved in fostering the mission of the church for peace and justice, and that we look at what people can do not only to help people interpersonally with their problems or difficulties or whatever it is, but that we look at the structures that are causing some sort of difficulty for persons, and that we try to heal the structures. And so we are involved in that process, and we try to raise people's awareness through various courses and through the way we do pastoral ministry and counseling, that they must look at social structures, and they must do theological reflection and critical social analysis as part of their training. Also, part of what we stand for is a community. We are truly, in the educational and pastoral ministry programs, a learning community where the teachers and the students alike learn from one another. The students learn so much from one another, and they learn, of course, from the teachers, and the teachers learn from the students. There's always a growing awareness among them. And we foster that community in very many ways, but I think the students bring that desire with them. They want to have this community orientation as part of their training, and they bring it with them. The education that we're engaged in EPM is truly adult education, where people bring their experiences with them. And although they learn content, they learn scripture, theology, sociology, they learn the theories of psychology and other disciplines, nevertheless, this is linked to their life experience, and they don't have to struggle to make those links because we foster that happen. We also believe part of our philosophy, and a very important part, is our link to the mission of the college. Emmanuel is a Catholic college, and EPM continues that Catholic tradition, although we have many students who are not Catholic. We are linked to the Catholic tradition, and those who are not Catholic value very much what they get here in a Catholic institution. We're linked to the liberal arts aspect of the college because of the scripture and the theology and the sociological aspects of our program, and people do things that tie in with the liberal arts. Some of them will write a thesis, some of them will develop programs that are quite tied into the liberal arts aspect of the college. We're an urban center, and the urban pastoral programs especially tie into that. I'll speak to that in a minute. And we are very affirming of the role of women in the church. And as you all know, that isn't such an easy role to play today. And yet the women who come are very much involved in ministries, and they see themselves doing more and more, and they have great hope and faith that they will become leaders, really, in the church of the future. They feel called to that. I would like to speak a little bit about the philosophy of the urban pastoral programs, which Sister Patricia Johnson coordinates. The urban pastoral programs offers CPE, clinical pastoral education, with a unique focus. You probably know about CPE in hospital settings, where the students talk with the patients and they learn about counseling and pastoral ministry through that interaction and through theological reflection groups among their peers. But we do clinical pastoral education in parishes, and this is a unique focus. We use parishes in the city of Boston primarily, where there is a diversity of racial, ethnic, and economic groups, where there's a grassroots activism among the people, where there are large percentages of elderly people and single-parent families, and where there are neighborhood concepts of ministry where people want to get involved. Also, the CPE here, as I mentioned before with the EPM programs, builds upon adult education where people bring their own resources to their learning, and they share with one another and they learn from one another. They share their skills with one another. I'd like to speak a little bit about the programs in the Educational and Pastoral Ministry program. We have master's degree programs in Educational and Pastoral Ministry, which are for church-related ministries, and Pastoral Counseling, which are for ministries where counseling is an important aspect. And in clinical pastoral counseling, where people actually are going to be engaged in counseling relationships as their ministry itself. We also offer certificate programs, and one of our unique aspects of the certificate program is that we accept people without a bachelor's degree to do our educational and pastoral ministry certificate. These are mostly people with a great deal of background and experience who have been on the leading edge of religious education and parish ministry throughout the years and never completed a degree. And so they come back. They don't want to do a bachelor's when they come. They're afraid. And they do their 18-credit certificate and then often go into their bachelor's. Then they open up their certificate and make it into a master's. And so we allow that flexibility to happen. Our students come basically from New England, from the Boston Archdiocese, but also, as Teresa mentioned, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Hampshire, and Maine. Currently, we have a student commuting from Albany, New York. She comes for 2 days a week, and then she goes home and comes back the next week. We have students who come during the year for sabbatical and renewal programs, and they choose us because we're flexible. We don't tie them into a program where they all have to do the same thing at the same time. They can pick and choose, they can audit, they can take the credit, they can do a certificate, and they come from parts of the United States other than New England and also from Europe. Next year, I believe we'll have a student from Ireland, and we've had students from other parts of Europe too. Our students go into many different ministries. They're all over the world. Some of them are doing missionary work in Latin America and in Africa. And in parts of the United States, we have people who actually are administering parishes because of the shortage of clergy. In Montana, we have 2 women who run parishes, and the clergy come in when they are available. And we have many people in New England, of course, and they're doing a range of things from religious education to all sorts of ministries, including campus ministry and youth ministry, working with the elderly. Many people do not change their jobs when they come. They might come as a nurse or a social worker, and they don't intend to change that, but they do want to add what we can give them to what they are doing. Our faculty have very definite expertise, very definite disciplines of sociology, theology, scripture, but our faculty have a pastoral orientation, and they've been chosen with that orientation so that they understand where the students are coming from and what they intend to do. And so this pastoral orientation really fosters the work of the program. I have some very wonderful faculty members who work with me. Now we have more full-time people. Once upon a time, we were mostly part-time people. but our part-time people who continue have a great love for the students here, and they really have dedicated themselves. They have a commitment to working with the students here. Where do we go in the future? We're hoping in the future to network more and more within the Emmanuel College community with other departments. We're planning a joint certificate program with a department in the college that will use resources in EPM and in the other department. We do this from time to time. We network within. We're also networking within the larger academic community and the Boston community. Certainly the urban parish programs are an outreach, direct outreach to the urban community in Boston. We're hoping to put some new programs in place to develop our spirituality component, a spirituality rooted in peace and justice. And we're hoping that as time moves on and we go into our 19th and 20th and maybe our 25th year, that we will grow and change and develop and change with the people of the times. So thank you very much, and I would like to introduce now Sister Lorraine Cornell, who would like to talk to you about academic advising. I also like to say Lorraine is one of our newest SND faculty members here at Emmanuel College. We're very proud of that.
Thank you, Sister Claudia. I want to speak about the academic advisory program, and I'd like to begin with a description from the catalog. Emmanuel offers advisement to enable each student to discover her gifts and to develop her potential as fully as possible. Each new student at Emmanuel, whether freshman, transfer, continuing ed, or special student, plans her programs within the context of her goals with her academic advisor within the Office of the Associate Dean. At least twice a semester, the student discusses with her advisor her academic goals, her interests, her skills, and her course progress so that she may clarify future academic decisions. This is not as easy as it sounds. To try to get them to come in twice a semester is quite difficult. I have many boring hours in my office waiting. The students who don't come, I send out notes. I get notes from teachers. I set up meetings with teachers. I try to track down students. I have students who come in and say, I don't want to talk about anything. I want to get out of here right now. So I say, fine. The registrar's office is next door. You can go and get a leave of absence slip, but I won't sign it for 2 days. So by 2 days, the crisis has usually passed. And anyway, there are times when it's not dull at all. There are other times when it's quite dull. We're approaching the time when it's not going to be dull for about 24 hours a day. Each of the students comes in and has 4 semesters in which to decide a major. So I picked up this freshman class. I will continue to be their advisor until they graduate. We had decided last year that an important issue in retaining the students would be to allow the advisor to continue with each of the with the whole class of students from the time they're freshmen. There are more freshman advisors because it gives the opportunity for each of the faculty members who works with the students to meet with them more often. There are currently 140 freshmen. There are 3 freshman advisors, Dr. Owyang, Sister Ellen Glavin, and Sister Barbara Jean Kubik. I am the sophomore class advisor. I have 125 full-time sophomores. Dr. Betty Weiss, who teaches in the biology department, has 114 juniors, and Dr. Owyang has the 114 seniors. 130 students times twice a semester. We have about 10 hours a week as part of that's a part of our full-time faculty load that is dedicated to the advising. So we teach 2 courses in addition to the advising. When they are sophomores, they are supposed to declare a major. And when they declare a major, they also, in addition to me as academic advisor, they have an advisor within their major who keeps track of their courses. So this year has been trying to get settled. Have they got a major? Do they know what they want to major in? Switching majors, you can imagine 19 and 20-year-olds don't quite know. In addition to sophomore blues, it's been a challenge. The actual general requirements that we still have here at Emmanuel include an art or music course, the composition and math courses that Dr. Owyang mentioned an English literature course, 2 foreign languages, 3 courses which are currently called IDC or cluster, which encourage the students to branch out and take courses in areas other than their major, interdisciplinary. 1 philosophy course, 2 theology courses, 2 sciences that have a lab, and 2 social sciences. The issues that we are struggling with at this point, as far as the advising goes, is we have a very wide range of students academically. We want to continue to offer courses that challenge those who are the brightest, and we still have very many bright students. We also need to keep in mind that there are many students who may be less well prepared to handle their freshman year, and we are working on ways to help those students, not because they are intellectually of lower standards, but just that particularly if they've come through the City of Boston system, they may simply have not had the proper preparation in order to handle college material. So we are struggling with that. We are struggling with retention and with making sure that we have enough resources to meet the needs of the students. I'd be glad to answer questions at the end. I'd like to introduce at this point Mr. Ted Duprez.
I wish I had a signal to click again. Can't find those anymore. It's my pleasure this afternoon to share with you some of the developments in the buildings and grounds and facilities area. And buildings and grounds are particularly important to the college these days because they also provide revenue from alternate sources that help to subsidize the educational program. In the period 1982 to 1983, a professional study was conducted on the campus about our facilities, and that study indicated that we had excess capacity because, of course, there were fewer students in the 1950s, and that the capacity we did have was in dire need of rehabilitation. The buildings had not been maintained to the proper standards, and that we had a need to put an awful lot of money into an awful lot of buildings on campus. The study indicated that the upper lot, that area that I will describe as Alumni Hall, the campus shop building, the old parking lot, the upper lot might be designated as an area that we could develop to provide additional funding to the college to help with the rehabilitation of the buildings. Some of the building problems, just to mention a few, of course, is that we had very few handicapped accessible buildings on campus. The administration building in particular was experiencing water damage because the wind was driving the rain right through the bricks, especially the front side of the building. This caused extensive damage to the classrooms in the upper floor, some of our offices. The parking lot that used to be behind the administration building is cracked, rather shabby looking. The residence halls had been maintained, but not as well as they could have been. And student services were spread all over the campus in Marion Hall, in the foyer St. Joseph's, and the administration building. So in brief, what had happened was the excess capacity, the lack of funding, combined to provide us with a situation that needed a major change. A plan was developed as a result of that study, and the plan was to use our excess building capacity to generate new revenue, that is revenue from sources outside of tuition, and to use that revenue to renovate our buildings. The plan also had caveats that included not using tuition income to rehabilitate buildings, not using the endowment to rehabilitate the buildings. So the strategy that was implemented along with that plan was to rent the upper lot, that is to say Alumni Hall, parking lot, and possibly the campus shop, to generate a revenue stream that would come back into the campus for building rehabilitation as well as subsidy to the educational plan. We now have specific plans resulting from that include the renovation of Marion Hall to create a new science center, to renovate the basement of the administration building to make it a center for student services, student activities. That basin area is now referred to on campus as the plaza level. I have trouble saying that with a straight face. Along those lines in the administration building, there'll be a new elevator added, offices for the Dean of Student Life, Campus Ministry, Director of Counseling and Career Services, a number of other service areas have been accommodated in the plaza level of the building. Some of those renovations are in process at the present time. But so as to not delay the renovation of Marion Hall, the renovation of the plaza level, not to delay those very badly needed actions, the college borrowed money from the state. The program is a very, very low interest loan program, and Emmanuel College competed against 55 institutions, a combination of hospitals and colleges and universities, for 37 loans. And as you may have heard, Emmanuel College was selected as one of the 37 successful applicants. And so in March of 1986, we were awarded a low interest state loan for rehabilitation of our buildings. Subsequently, September 1986, the college was able to win an outward federal grant from Washington for the rehabilitation of the administration building, primarily in the area of handicap accessible areas. This was, I think, the largest grant the college had ever won, and it's now being implemented. And if you take a tour today, you may see the beginnings of some of those renovations. In this past week, as a matter of fact, 5 days ago, we reached agreement on the rental of the upper lot. The details of that agreement still have to be worked out, but it now appears as though the agreement was made on the college's terms, and that this will provide a living endowment that is needed to have cash flow back into the campus to again rehabilitate our buildings and also help continue to subsidize the educational program. In summary then, the original plan of 1982-83 is being implemented, and I think it's being implemented with vigor. What we're going to do is to show you a slide presentation for a few minutes, and it is an attempt to show you where the college has been, where it is today, and where it will be going in terms of facilities. After the slide presentation, we'll ask the original panel to come back to the stage and have an opportunity to ask questions. Emmanuel College, as it was back in 1920, the administration building. You probably can't notice them, but there are Model T Fords around the edge. Even a convertible Model T Ford there. And in those days, of course, the first dean of Emmanuel College, Sister Helen Madeline, who was here, I believe, from 1919 to 1950. And Emmanuel College today. As you can see, the college has a great neighbor in that the city of Boston is in our backyard. It allows us to provide those internships that Lily Owyang was talking about, mentorships, internships, partnerships. And this, of course, was taken very recently, probably last summer. This area, you may recall from earlier days, was a parking lot. When I arrived, a very cracked and shabby parking lot. It's all been grassed in, greened in, and shrubbery added. Front steps of the administration building. And you'll note in the next few slides that the student population is very diverse these days. Diverse in many ways. We have students from Florida, from one, Faraway's campus. Student arriving for a freshman orientation. And as you heard earlier in the panel, we have other students, non-traditional, if you will, like continuing ed students or adult students. 3 of our adult students. This is Dan Lynch, welcoming 2 others. The bell tower of the administration building, an interesting story. Because of Sister Dorothy Higgins' input, in 1985, a search went out to look for the original bell that had been taken down years ago. I believe it was installed in 1940. It was taken down in subsequent years for renovation of the tower, but never rehung. So in 1985, it was discovered again, or rediscovered. It was rehung. It's engraved. It is run daily by volunteer students. This is a conference room in the old campus shop. Some people refer to it as Huey's. Campus shop has been completely renovated. It now houses the offices of the conference center, the offices of buildings and grounds, security, some maintenance workshops, and storage in the rear of the building. But this particular conference room is where all of the planning for facilities renovation takes place, where all the meetings with contractors and architects takes place. As a result of those planning sessions, renovations take place, and this past year in the front of the administration building. Because of the water damage that was seeping through the brickwork, all of these routing points had to be hand removed and repointed, re-waterproofed. It took many months. We've spent to date over $100,000 resurfacing the front of the building, and probably another $200,000 before the building is finished. We're now inside the administration building. This is just below the chapel. There were offices here earlier for faculty, peace and justice, communications. They've been relocated to newer offices. And this particular room will become a student social center. This is about how it looks today. When renovations are complete, it will be modernized with carpeting, lowered ceilings, and what have you. And if money allows, the side windows will be removed, and arch windows that blend in with the above chapel will be installed. We're now in the plaza level of the administration building. The new elevator will be installed in this general area. Campus ministry office in progress during the summer months. The office of career services and council career services. And now those offices look like this. These are counseling offices, career services, and the director of counseling and career services, Sister Rachel, sits back there. She was so happy with her new location, she went out to celebrate. She gave me permission to use this slide. She's affectionately known as the Double Dipper. The chairs in the background and tables are from 1954. They're very old and rickety and rather shabby. All new furniture has been ordered for the dining hall. 500 new chairs, 40 some odd tables. They'll be delivered and installed in the month of April. The chairs will look like this. The tables will have a similar oak trim. Classroom of the 1920s. I had to Indian wrestle Ann Fleming to get this. She loaned me some very old and precious photographs that made into slides. Classroom of today. Classroom of the future. All new classrooms, when renovated, as money allows, will be modified to be carpeted, green and white boards, lowered ceiling, non-glare lighting, drapes. This particular classroom is a model that's in room 222 of the administration building. something or other, when the stamps were 3 cents each. The new mailroom being renovated this past summer, the new mailroom today. Computer lab, student computer lab in the plaza level administration building. I think we have 15 or so Apple IIc microcomputers. An old lounge. This is the area that I believe Sister Ann Rachel's office now sits in this general area. There's a pillow on the couch that says 1925. There's an old Victrola standing in the back wall. And a lounge today. This is the original, the old case room. Having been educated by the Sisters of Notre Dame and St. Mary's Waltham, I know what cases where you used to keep the blue aprons. These cases are now used by commuter students to store things. There's a TV, there's also a refrigerator off campus, off the slide. In the adjacent room is where Peace and Justice and Communications were relocated. They have a room that's similar in terms of the lowered ceiling, the lighting, and carpeting in the old laundry room. One of the offices that was renovated a few years ago, this happens to be College Resources and Alumni Affairs. This we call the corner lounge. I'm told it was a gymnasium. It was a blue and gold lounge. It was a bookstore. When I came here, it was a maintenance department. It was all storage and very dusty and dirty. Today it's a student lounge. There's a handicap ramp that allows students to go to the top area, which is a snack bar, hot and cold sandwiches. There's a bank or vending machines that you can't see. But it's used quite extensively for student activities, for dances, for comedians who come in to entertain. Just below the auditorium. The future. Architecture and addition of how the administration building might change. This lower area, we're below the auditorium. This lower area, the earth would be cut away by about 3 feet to drop it down so that this lower plaza level would be ground level. You would not be walking down any longer. There's an entrance. We would walk in here, arch windows that would blend in with the rest of the architecture. Ramp up to an outdoor student area, seating area. Taking that same idea and bringing it to the student social center, which is below the chapel. You can see the arches. We're now looking at the chapel from St. James' side. These would be added money, if money is identified for art. Again, the earth removed so it's down at grade level. Again, that seating plan, the other side of this social center, looking at it from the auditorium side, of course, would look very similar. So the social center renovations are going forward, and the arch windows and masonry changes, and this outer area will depend upon identifying funding sources. 1960s, the parking lot in back of the administration building looking towards Marion Hall, gymnasium on this side. Another shot from the opposite angle. This parking lot was removed 4 years ago, and instead of asphalt out back, as you probably know, there is now grass. A shot of the same area. This is where the cars were. This looks a little bleak because it was taken in March, but this general area in the summertime can be quite beautiful. The next slide will feature on that planter in good weather. You can see that there have been benches added here. There's a new courtyard installed in there. This is the driveway to the library building. The driveway was a cul-de-sac. It was quite wide, had curbing on both sides, and that has all been removed and that will all be turned to grass. All of this entire area will be grassed in, new shrubs, plantings, and what have you. And there'll be a student walkway, a small path, so that one can walk from the front of the building over towards Marion Hall. But the asphalt will pretty much disappear. To the right of this area is where the new parking facility will be made. The new parking lot is to allow us to rent the upper lot. The new parking lot will be for Emmanuel college use. high-pressure sodium lights have been added. There are 2 poles there. There's another pole that you can't see that will floodlight the tennis courts. And an attempt was made to leave as many trees as possible in the new parking lot, but also an additional 31 new trees will be planted. This is the plan for that parking area. Originally 150 spaces and some trees. Tennis courts remain unchanged. This is the student walkway that was once the driveway of the cul-de-sac. Since that plan was developed, it has been revised to look like this. There'll be many more trees, much more grass, ivy on the tennis courts, and in essence, 253 shrubs will be planted. I think it's 31 trees. So, original plan that we're building to. These plantings will take place this spring and summer as the weather allows. This is the old parking lot that we're renting. If you draw an imaginary line across here, to the left of the line will be rented to hospitals in the area, along with Alumni Hall. To the right of the line will be the main campus. There'll be a gate installed here so that those who drive on to this parking lot from Marion Loop Pasture cannot come onto the main campus. The one-level building will remain in college's possession. The rental of Alumni Hall in the parking lot is for 11 years, at which point the college can reclaim the entire parcel. In this area is where the security force or the security office is. This is a shot of the security desk. College has 7 low light level TV cameras mounted strategically around the campus. And in essence, because they're low light level, the security guard can sit here from dusk until dawn and view the entire campus. He can zoom in on a particular area and rotate his camera 360 degrees. This is a shot of the student computer lab that we saw earlier. Walkie-talkie puts him in touch with the people on patrol. And of course, the campus is backed up by the Masco security force, a private security force funded by the hospitals and the local colleges. Shot of the front desk of St. Joseph's Hall, security desk. There was a lock at 11 o'clock. This woman can buzz in someone after that time. Marion Hall outside. To the left would be the gymnasium. The core building is where the renovations will take place for the sciences. This is the gymnasium that was upgraded in the past year. The floor was completely redone, paint of all the walls, new scoreboard added. Another shot of the same building, same room. Now we're going into that area that will be the new science center. And since it's in process, we'll be looking at an artist's sketch of what the new laboratory areas will look like. In essence, we're standing with our back to the gymnasium and looking at a cross-section of the building. First floor, of course, is the kitchen, and there'll be a function room. Second floor, biology labs. Third, chemistry. Fourth, physics. The biology greenhouse, prep rooms, and research rooms here. Taking a look at it from the top down and slicing. We're now looking down at a laboratory on a corridor bisecting it, offices and prep rooms on this side. Closer view of that same thing would show us that there are 16 station labs being built. Again, note the corridor that bisects it from the offices. Now we'll look at that today. There's the corridor. The offices being to the right, the labs being to the left. A shot of the biology labs on the second floor in preparation. There are 3 labs along this area. Supposed to be completed and turned over to the college by August 15th. I should say it will be turned over to the college by August 15th. All the facility renovations, of course, are for the Emmanuel College students. Here we have a group in a serious pose, and next we have a group of students in a less serious pose. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
slides were dark, the light, light warning came on. So those, you probably won't get those, but you will get most of it.
Sometimes
Rather than taking a break, because when we finish questions, you will be taking a break anyway, and we're running somewhat late. So, and that's not a problem for us. I hope it's not a problem for you. I'd like to thank Lily, Teresa, Claudia, Lorraine, and Ted. And this is an overview, and we want you to really understand that it's an overview. There's a lot of detail, a lot of agenda on what each person presented this afternoon. We'd like to take now a few more minutes of your time to see if from you there are any questions that were not answered in the discussion, or if you would like, you could have comments that would be presented to us, and these would then become topics of further dialogue or further days like today. So if we have any questions.
I have a question, Dr. Owyang, about the co-op program. And I believe somebody else or yourself referred to 36 courses that must be taken.
Correct.
Is the co-op experience part of the course?
Part of the course. We are right now, the internship experience for students are part of courses. And the internship experience students can get credit. We would like to be able to offer students the possibility or the flexibility of getting partnerships of what we call the co-op experience for credit as well. Right now it's being planned for the graduate students in the Human Resource Management program. We're trying to have a student do a partnership with Prime Computer, for example, who is very much interested in doing cross-cultural training. So we'd like to start that with the undergraduates as well, but there's a lot of work that needs to still be done with departments in general.
And follow-up.
Sure.
How does that compare to a program such as Northeastern's, where 5 years is allowed for the co-op program without watering down and
Right.
analyzing?
What obviously is going to be a lot of workings out in terms of scheduling. What we were trying to do is that since there are evening courses now on campus, some students find themselves taking all the evening courses and having the daytime working. And many of our students have to work in order to pay for college. We would like to do the idea of trying to combine the work that they're doing now to pay for college as being part of the partnership experience, which lends them and gives them definite skills that they can carry into the workplace.
And yes, Dolores.
I have two questions. The first question is, what percentage of students are students of color, and of the general, not international students, the students from the Boston area or outlying districts? What percentage are black? And then the second part of my question is, how does that student population, the reflection of those students and the cultural differences impact on the curriculum, course content, on the teaching styles of the staff, and on the complexion and cultures of the staff and teaching?
Sister, what are you asking first? All of us. Who wants it? Let me at least begin with answering that, because that's something that I'm purposely being very conscious about. And currently in our class of 1990, which is our freshman class, we have 13.5% of them are undergraduate minority. I don't know exactly I can't give you an exact breakdown, but out of that 13.5%, a great majority of that are black students and Hispanic students from the Boston high schools. Now, Sister, you also asked about in terms of teaching styles. Okay. One of the things that we try to do very clearly and very carefully is, as part of the academic advising, there is linkages working between the advisors themselves and the faculty at large. So we're constantly going to faculty and telling faculty that either there are teaching style problems or additional academic support help that's needed. And Alice, as well as Lois Sullivan, has implemented a different types of testing situation for students so that we know exactly what their problems are, whether it's a content, whether it's a comprehension, or whether it's a reading ability. We try to test as much as we possibly can. It's a big problem because there are many levels of testing that we're trying to do and trying to help the students more specifically. The other questions that you were asking in terms of faculty? Okay. In terms of minority faculty, are you saying? People of color. Okay. People of color, in terms of the faculty, we have the, myself, who's teaching in the music department, and we have Carson Johnson, who's teaching in the psychology department, and we are doing, we have minority student counselors. We have two. What we decided to do this semester is to have what we call the multicultural support task force rather than minority affairs. So we have two student groups right now currently, which is the women of color and the international student body. We also have the Spanish department as well, having people of color.
As we move to the 90s, what are your plans then?
Okay.
Well,
Yes.
I think it's important to mention too that we have a part-time person who's the Stones who is black in the county, and he's been hired full-time for next year.
One of the things I'd like to follow up on also, Sister, is the Project Beam, which we realized this year at Emmanuel, and it was a joint effort with Boston and the public schools and Emmanuel College. BEAM stands for Boston Emmanuel Academic Model. And it was a grant through the Board of Regents for $75,000, and it took place last summer, and it's currently underway for Saturdays during the academic year. We have 52 area Boston high school students, 100% of whom are minorities. The grant proposal originally developed through Sister Elizabeth Michaels, who coordinated special programs and continuing ed, and it was developed out of my office this past summer and now on Saturdays during the academic year. And just briefly, it is to reach out to minorities in the area of science and math and critical thinking skills. It came as a result of some of the research on the basic skills in collaboration with the Boston Public Schools. It's used as a recruitment tool as well. We're hoping very much that 80% of these students are females, and we're hoping to use it also as a recruitment tool that when these students who are sophomores and juniors come to us for this remedial program, they'll feel comfortable on the Emmanuel campus and eventually become freshman students within our programs. Very recently, as recent as within the past month, we learned of another effort which is called LASER, and it's Learning Aptitude for Science and Engineering Readiness. And it was a McNair Foundation grant for $85,000, also for minority students in Boston. We targeted four Boston high school four high schools, and we looked at their SAT scores as well as met with their guidance counselors. The Project Beam is currently being staffed with Boston teachers who come onto the Emmanuel campus, and the director and the academic coordinator also have positions in the Boston Public School, and LASER will as well. And we're hoping very much that as we look at the students in the Boston Public Schools, it's been part of Emmanuel's mission for many years to be connected with them through sending our student teachers to Boston. We've had pre-practical placements and many successful collaboration. And we also have a program going right now with Boston English High School, and many of the students are attending the program on Saturday morning. It's remedial. We have students who have IQs in the 120 to 140 range, but who have slipped through the cracks and who are in desperate need of remedial services in the study skills areas. So we're hoping that this will be successful for Emmanuel and for Boston students as well. And we have some information on that in my office. I'd be happy to share it with you.
Course content. I want to, since already, do you want to answer a little bit more specifically since you see specific students dealing with course content?
One of the ways that I've adjusted my own program, my own, say, principles of economics is, you'd like to think that when you give an exam, excuse me, everybody has understood the material and can answer a question about it with ease. However, the students who have English as a second language, I've found require a lot more attention than that. So I have given them each the opportunity to come in for tutorial assistance, both either redoing their exam, showing me in other ways that they understand the material, and compensating their grades in that way rather than to require simply the same thing as other students. So that's the way I've done it. I don't know if
I guess my question is, in terms of cabinet, you talked about moving into the 90s. Okay, so that says to me that you're avant-garde, looking ahead. And if you have students that are not of European culture or Western culture, what course content do you have that reflects
variety of perspectives. The other thing too is that I might want to just explain in terms of the freshmen that's coming in, we are having the requirement of what we call the core curriculum. And the core curriculum for the class of 1991 is going to have a definite component that's non-Western culture and traditions.
Lily, I guess you should also mention the work that you're doing on the multicultural task force.
What you part of the
Some of these things
right.
that you're asking.
Part of the thing is being here as long as I have, and I agree with Sister that in many ways we have not, as a college, addressed the different ethnic and cultural differences of our students. And this semester we tried to put together the multicultural support task force representing different offices within the institution. One of our goals is to help the students, the multicultural students, establish linkages within the academic system, as well as linkages with outside world as well. And I'm very conscious of that because what I'm saying is that we have to, the minority students that are coming in have very different kinds of situations that we need to address as a college. And we're trying slowly but surely. One of the things that I think I would like to explain is that we are planning a first family event to happen in the late April because we believe that our Hispanic students especially have a great deal of family responsibilities and often does not have the same kind of values associated to higher education as many of the European students do have. And we find that not only do we need to help the students gain academic linkages, we need to support the families as well. So that the families understand the necessity for these students to come and get higher education. Because it's in a way their way out of poverty or out of economic necessities right now.
Yes, Mary.
I think I'd like to address my question to Mr. Duprez, and it's a little bit more basic, and perhaps it will have to come from someone in the audience. And my question is, I understand that the Emmanuel College is owned by the Sisters of the Boston and Ipswich provinces, and that membership, that ownership is identified in an entity known as a corporation. And I would like to know, in all those decisions that had to be made before those beautiful renovations took place, what is the role of the corporation in that kind of decision-making, and how does that work with the Board of Trustees? Now, maybe you can't answer that, Mr. Duprez, but maybe somebody could tell me that.
I think that I'm well aware of the fact that there's a corporation, but I think I'd like to defer answering that to someone who might know how the corporation interfaces with me.
I think Ted, maybe Sister Elizabeth?
I feel like a voice out of the past, but having been involved when, in fact, the Emmanuel Corporation was set up and a two-tiered system of governance for the college was set up. The principle of setting up a two-tiered system was, in fact, to set up a body which was responsible ultimately for the college. And that was the corporation that symbolized that the ownership of the property